You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan Schwarting and Kaan Bayazit.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Orada Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksın kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Roma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 56 of the Black Eagles podcast. I am your host, Sinan Schwarting, live from New York City with your favorite co-host, Kaan Bayazit. How you doing, sir?
Good, thank you. Big in Japan tonight.
Yeah, hopefully, we're gonna have a whole new set of followers, base of followers. Yeah, what an exciting day today is. What a lovely Sunday. But again, not to spoil. Do you want to say anything, Kaan, before I get into the match proceedings?
Yeah, before we get into the game, let's just put this out there that your hex has been broken.
Yeah.
The Knicks lost today. Beşiktaş did not.
That's right.
So
for anyone who's just tuned in, there had been this hex or curse that whenever the Knicks and Beşiktaş played on the same calendar day, and like I'd even factored in time zones, the results were the same. If the Knicks lost, Beşiktaş lost. If the Knicks won, Beşiktaş won. And this is bad for Beşiktaş because the Knicks are terrible. But so finally, and this is rare, finally, Beşiktaş played first on the day, and the Knicks played directly after the match. And this is in part thanks to Erdogan's tricky daylight savings time stuff. But so luckily, the Knicks played on the same day, and the Knicks lost despite Beşiktaş's win, breaking the hex and freeing us to success in the second half of the season, and allowing the Knicks to gracefully tank into a high draft pick. But with that said, let me just break into it. Thank you for that acknowledgement, though, Kaan. On a personal level, that really warms my heart.
Yeah. When you were talking about the draft pick, I'm sure that 50% of our listenership's eyes just glazed over, as mine did.
What are you talking about? Screw the Knicks. Okay, and indeed, screw the Knicks. Let's go.
One more note that I have to put out, or a rectification from our last episode. Unfortunately, it does seem that there's no option to buy for Shinji Kagawa.
Are we gonna go into speculation mode, or?
Sorry?
Shall we have a section where we talk about this a little bit, maybe, later on in the episode?
Sure, but I just wanted to put the rectification out there at the start of the episode, just so that officially there's no option to buy as of this point. It was reported initially that there was a 1.6 million option to buy included in the contract. That is not the case, supposedly. But we'll go into that a little bit deeper later on in the episode, as Sinan already said. But let's get to the match proceedings for today's game, Sinan.
Yeah, because I have a theory on that, which, again, we'll talk about. But so, yes, let us talk about today's big match. And so going into the match, our lineup was nothing too shocking, except perhaps there was a good decision made. Karius started as the keeper. Vida and Isimat Mirin continued their run as a partnership in the back line after the last match, where Vida was out. He was suspended, right, Kaan?
Yep.
Gökhan Gönül and Adriano started on the wings. Adriano starting over Caner Erkin. So he's back and healthy. That's a good note, but it also freed Caner Erkin to play on the left wing slot, given Quaresma's suspension. Jermaine Lens played opposite him. In the center of the midfield, we had Atiba Hutchinson and Dorukhan, as well as Adem Ljajic in the number 10 role. So of note, again, two defensive midfielders, although, and we'll get into why, but I think it's probably time to acknowledge that Dorukhan is officially a central midfielder. And of course, the nice bit of news here is that Guven Yalchin started up front. And this is good because it had looked as if Kyle Larin might have been sneaking into that number 2 role after these last couple of matches. And Guven, I think, after that first half of the season, merited that second slot. But anyway, anything you want to say about the lineup before I get into match proceedings?
Was happy to see Guven start. I think he also had a good game today, so I think he'll continue to start if Burak isn't fit or suspended. I think it was all in all a really good lineup. Of course, I would have preferred to see Kagawa start, but I completely understand Shinol Gunish's decision here that he wants to ease him into the team, given the fact that Kagawa has played only something like 400 minutes, including friendlies. All season, so I get that he doesn't have the match rhythm yet. He doesn't want to rush him in too much, but like you said, for just one match, I hope that Kagawa gets the nod next week, because I didn't think Janner had a particularly good game, which was to be expected as a left midfielder. I don't think he's a decent enough backup for that position, but he's not a viable starting option for me.
I agree. I fully agree, and I'd like personally to see Ljajic given a role in that slot, since I think Kagawa's very likely to be in the number 10 role in the upcoming match at the very least. Because, and let's talk about why that might be the case. So I'll get right into the match, so I'm not spoiling. The first half was somewhat droll. To be, in the name of the truth, I have to be perfectly honest. I did not see the first 20 or so minutes of the match. I was so angry about missing it, and I was like rushing to get home. I thought Kagawa would be playing, and I didn't have the chance to see the lineups or anything. So I was like fuming that I was missing his debut. And so actually, as a side note to Kaan's disappointment or quasi disappointment about him not being in the first team, I was actually so happy he wasn't, because I thought I'd missed his debut. But anyway, I didn't miss anything. And in fact, right after I tuned in, so I'm the talisman of luck, perhaps. That really pissed off Yusuf in our group chat. Adem Ljajic got awarded a penalty. The penalty was actually given to Gökhan Gönül on the corner of the box. What did you think of the call, Kaan?
Clear penalty.
I thought so, right? The keeper clipped Gökhan Gönül, who was just near the touchline. I think he could have controlled it and put the ball in. Not necessarily the shot, doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter. He was fouled there. Adem Ljajic steps up for the penalty, takes the shot low to the left corner, and it is saved. Guven Yalchin pounces on it, puts it in the back of the net. Goal! Whistle. Just kidding. But in a weird twist, Guven Yalchin was not even close to being the only person who'd crossed the threshold. There were probably like 5 or 6 guys, including a few Antalyaspor players. So the whole thing got whistled back. Replay the penalty. Adem Ljajic takes it again, and this time, beyond a doubt, at the second it comes off his foot, that's a goal. Beşiktaş takes a 1-0 lead. In the 35th minute. In the 39th minute then, and Beşiktaş at this point has awoken. They are looking fierce. Dorukhan Tokuz on an Adriano pass scores again, and in theory this would be like his 4th game in a row scoring, but the first 2 didn't count. But so for his 2nd game in a row, he scores officially. Kaan, any comments about either of those first 2 goals?
A lot of people will say that Light shouldn't be taking penalties, but I thought the first penalty was well struck. I think it was just a good save by Buffin. Second one was a really good penalty. So I think he can take penalties, and if Kagawa isn't going to take them, probably Kagawa should take him. He's a good penalty taker too. I don't have any problem with Leitch taking the penalties. Probably would feel a little bit more confident with a guy like Kagawa taking them, who might be a little bit more pure business. The second goal was great, very well crafted. Lots of players involved in the build-up. Jermaine Lens, Laic, Janer, Adriano with the final pass, and a good goal by Guven Yalcin. It was a really good goal.
Dorkan.
By Dorokan, sorry. Good, well-crafted goal. Jermaine Lens also gave the pass that led to the penalty. He was also instrumental in the build-up here. So I think that was a good start for his game as well. Should be mentioned because he didn't get on the score sheet.
And Durakan is scoring on all levels, right? He's put in headers. He's put in long golazos. Now he's put in little sort of poachers, sort of shots across the bow. He's doing it all for us, Durakan. And I don't know how much anyone even cares about this anymore, but the dude's earned a call-up for the national team, right? One thing I'll say is I like to see Beşiktaş represented well whenever they can be, and certainly Durakan is performing at a very high level, not just as a sort of prospect anymore, right?
No, he's earned it for sure. I've seen Galatasaray players get called up after 2 games
for far less, right?
Yeah,
come on.
This kid deserves it wholeheartedly. Reminds me a lot of Ozan Tufan when he was at Bursaspor under Şenol Güneş. Just great box to box. Definitely wouldn't describe him as a central midfielder. Definitely a box to box, because I under a central midfielder I understand a little bit a different role. He's not an 8. He's not a real 6 either, but. Yeah, Dorkan's just so good. He knows where to pop up, when to pop up there, covers a lot of ground, and he's been in the box so often, in the right place at the right time. I think he's been a great addition to the team.
I mean, and like Football Manager classifies box-to-box guys as central midfielders, but it is a sort of subcategory. But I know what you mean. It's a special brand of midfielder that exists in the center of the midfield, I guess, if you could call it that. But yeah, anyway, moving on. In the 43rd minute, Ljajic puts in a nice free kick, and who but Atiba Hutchinson with a nice little tip in, and Beşiktaş takes a 3-0 lead. Was it saved or did it come off the post, Kaan?
That was parried by Boffin and hit on the rebound by Atiba Hutchinson for the goal.
Very nice, yeah. And so Ljajic getting his footprint all over this match, as he has many matches, and I've heard more criticism of him of late than I ever would wish to, but I'm going to stand by my dude Ljajic. Anyway, at the half, Freddie comes into the match. Out goes Öztürk, as an Hamilton came in for Antalya. Out went Drolle. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that one right or not. In the 50th minute, Dukara strikes for Antalya on a fierce counter. I don't think you could put this on the defense. They actually defended it well. It popped back out. Dukara had a nice shot on goal. It's, just another one of those things that Beşiktaş has been doing all year, and they allowed Antalya back into the match. 1-3 at this point. It stands. In the 59th minute, Kyle Larin comes in for Janer, but I noted that Kyle Larin shifted to the striker position and Guven Yalcin shifted out to the wing, and shortly thereafter, Antalya was on the attack. They looked hungry. Things got crazy in the group chat. But Beşiktaş weathered the storm. And in the 67th minute, disaster struck. An own goal for, what's his first name? Dursun. Is it Sally? Sally Dursun, right? Oh, Sally. What a name.
Yeah. Sounds like a douche.
Shout out to the group chat on that. Salih Dursun lets in an own goal. It's 4-1, and I gotta say, it was a classy own goal. It was a striker quality own goal. Came in off a corner, not a corner, a cross. Was that Ljajic again? who had sent that in? Doesn't get counted as an assist, but do you remember, Kaan?
That was Guven, yeah.
Was Guven? That's what it was. I switched. Yeah, I swapped there. So
I'm
anyway,
actually just watching the replay of the goal right now. That's why I was a little tardy in replying. Because I just wanted to look back at something because it was Lens that really made that counter happen. But when I was watching the post match on a replay or something of a summary or something, the commentator mentioned Kyle Larin twice, and I was like, no, I'm pretty sure that was Lens. So I went just back to check, and yeah, it was definitely Lens.
Yeah, Larin didn't really do anything right after he came in. We're going to be 100% honest about that. Anyway, but so Guven Yalchin came off not much later in the 69th minute, making way for Gary Medel, making our tactic all crazy and hard to really explain at this point. Yet again, that's sort of trademark of late. In the 74th minute, Mevlut Erdinç comes on. Someone Turkish football fans will recognize, for Sissoko. They're obviously signaling intent with that move going forward. In the 81st minute, Shinji Kagawa comes on for Adem Ljajic, signaling his debut, getting a rousing cheer from the away crowd. And it would not take long for him to make his mark. On literally his first touch, well, maybe not literally, because it was a little dribble move, so maybe on his third literal touch.
It was like his fifth or sixth touch, because he had a couple of touches on the ball, but yeah,
exactly.
Basically,
on his
first time he got the ball.
Possession, exactly. On his very first possession in the black and white, Shinji Kagawa slots in a beautiful shot, totally catching Bofan off guard. And really catching everyone off guard. Even himself, he kind of shrugged after he scored, like, who saw that coming?
He was on the pitch for like 35 seconds at that point, not even a minute.
Beautiful stuff. And it would take 2 minutes, 2 full minutes, for Shinji Kagawa to then get back on the scoreline. Adriano brought the ball forward well, earned a free kick pretty far outside of the box, if we're going to be honest. How many yards? You're the yardsman.
I'm definitely not a yardsman. I'm a meter man. I think it was roughly the same as the Lige free kick earlier. I think it was again around the 29 meter mark. It was quite far out, so definitely did not expect that to go in. Because Kagawa isn't a set piece specialist like Lige is. With Lige, that doesn't really matter which angle, how far out. As soon as it's within like that 30 meter range, that Lige can surprise the keeper. But definitely didn't see this coming. So yeah, carry on.
Yeah. So there you have it, 6-1 in the 84th minute. Stunning free kick from deep.
I think it was lucky though.
It was a little, yeah. It took. I mean, it was a combination of luck and intent, though. Because it took a weird bounce, so you can't. Luck. I mean, the keeper will obviously be disappointed, but he'll probably defend himself by saying, "Dude, that took a crazy weird bounce and it had weird spin on it," and it did. But still, if you're a keeper, you're gonna hang your head.
It came from low first, and then it went up and dipped just before the keeper, and then that's so difficult because he was already on the wrong foot, because you expect the shot to go elsewhere. His vision was kind of obscured by the wall, and then it just, like you said, took a little bit of a weird bend, and it dipped early, which caused that bounce just like a meter or 1.5 meter in front of the keeper, who was leaping towards the low corner, and then it bounces in. It's difficult for a goalkeeper. I think many will blame him there, but it's very difficult when the ball dips that early, because it's first and foremost you need to get it over the wall, but then for it to come back down so quickly, and of course on a far free kick, that's much easier. But it's just very treacherous for a goalkeeper. It's not easy.
Yeah, and so that's where I say like luck, but also intent. I think it was sort of an audacious enough effort that the keeper was like, whoa, whoa. He got a little bit thrown mentally, but then also there was something technically going on that could have added another element. But anyway, the score at that point is 6-1. In the 90th minute, Chico, I like that guy's name. Chico would make it 6-2 or 2-6 if we're going to be more accurate and that sort of thing. Mevlut actually assisted him. Oh, that might be of note for any Mevlut fans who might be listening. And that's how the scoreline would end. 2-6, Beşiktaş victorious on the road in Antalya. Hey, good job, guys. Good win. Do you have anything to say about that before I get into the stats, Kaan?
Nope.
Let's do it. So, the stat flash. 13 shots by Beşiktaş to Antalya's 11, but 7 on target to their 4. Possession was actually 51% to Antalya to 49% by Beşiktaş. 364 passes completed by Beşiktaş to their 360. Very close. Accuracy, 74%. Antalyaspor to Beşiktaş's 71%. Interesting. Fouls, 14 committed by Beşiktaş to Antalya's 12. 3 yellow cards for Antalya to Beşiktaş's 2. No red cards. 7 offsides by Antalyaspor, 7 corners each. So statistically, Antalyaspor is the hungrier side. They're the ones possessing the ball more. They're playing more efficiently, although to be fair, neither side passes particularly efficiently in this situation. Although Beşiktaş is just far more efficient up front. Very interesting and very rare as far as this season goes. Now, Kaan, is there anything that interests you in those stats, among those stats?
I don't know. There's not really something that really jumps out in the stats. I think that Antalya were hungry.
They were down by a lot of goals for much of the match.
And I think that before the 1-0 or the 0-1, whatever, they were the better side. And then after the 1-3, they were the better side for about 20 minutes. So they definitely had a good 50-60 minute span where they were good in this game. So 2/3 of the match they were probably the better side, but yeah, they lose 2-6. So yeah,
it's interesting.
Can't really say much.
Whenever Beşiktaş gets a good result, they seem to have less of the ball. That's one interesting thing about the stat that I'll note. And today it was quite close.
I think it might have to do with the fact that there's really not been all that many, but the good results we've gotten have come on the road more often than at home. We've been disappointing at home. 1-1 draw to Erzurumspor last week. Can't really, that's just flat out disappointing. So before that, we had a good result away at Akhisar, and now today we have a good result away at Antalya. So, those are 2 away matches, so you can come to expect that you're going to have less of the ball there, and that you're going to probably have to play a little bit more reactionary football, which kind of was the case. Our 4th goal was a nice counter. Our 2nd goal was a nice turnover as well. So I think there's just more freedom in those games, more spaces, especially if you open the scoreline, because I think in the first 30-35 minutes, Antalya kept it close, kept it shut quite well. There was just one weak little shot by Güven in the 9th minute or so before the penalty, and that really just broke it open. This was one of those typical games where the first team that scores is going to end up winning, and Antalyaspor were on a bad run going into this game with 4 matches where they hadn't won a single game and hadn't scored a single goal. They lost twice 2-0. They drew twice 0-0. So they were on a bad run. And they had an important game here. They had to get some points. They were stubborn. I think there was a lot of stoppages in the first half hour. And that would have continued because it's a Bülent Korkmaz team. They like to play like that. If they go 1-0 up, is going to be a nightmare because then those stoppages are only going to increase. So it was very fortunate for us that we got that first goal through the penalty, which was, of course, 100% deserved. But before that penalty, we really didn't muster all that much, and it was really that broke the game open. And it reminds me of a game in our first championship under Güneş in Gaziantep, I think. That was that season where it was 0-0 until the 77th minute, and it was just such a difficult game. And then we score a free kick, and the match ends like 1-4 or something in like the last 20 minutes alone. That's just these types of games where as soon as you get that breakthrough, there's gonna be more space for you to capitalize on. And when you have guys like Laic, like Adriano, who was really in his element today, like Lens, like Dorukhan, guys who there's a lot of movement when you're on the counter, then you can exploit these types of teams. But you need to get that breakthrough first before you can capitalize and exploit these teams, because before that they're just so stubborn and well organized, and it's really just so important to get that first goal. And that's been our problem in many games this season, I think. Like, for example, Erzurumspor last week, if we get that first goal, we're always going to win that. That's a game that if you play it 10 times, you win it 9 times. But they score first, then you don't win. You're lucky to get a point. Well, lucky. You're happy to get a point, perhaps.
Yeah. And of course,
and the rant.
Just to go back to what I was saying earlier about how we seem to do well in games where we don't have as much of the ball. And it's natural that when you're leading, the other side is going to have more of the ball and be pressing. So that's one obvious explanation. But yeah, I think it does go deeper than that. I think it does. The fact that we do it on the road matters as well. But also, I think there's something to be said for the team not overthinking things a lot. And when, like, for example, when Quaresma's on the pitch, I think there's a constant concern of, like, are we getting him the ball? Is he getting pissed off in the corner of there and becoming impetuous? We got to give him the ball a certain amount. And then, he's sending in crosses. That's his thing. And perhaps there's a more freedom in general without him out there. But anyway, I don't want to speculate too much on that. And
yeah, in that first 35 minutes as well, you did also see that we were focusing a lot on wing play and crossing the ball into the box where there's really not much presence up there. Your Lens was going and trying to cross, Jenner was going to cross. And around the 25-minute mark, we finally amassed some pressure and put them under, a little bit in a tight. We put them in a little bit of a tight spot with some consecutive corner kicks and stuff like that. But most of the danger was coming from relatively early crosses, and it's we don't have the players for that right now. And it's just, like I said, until you get that first opening goal, we can't really get into our element and our play style. I think right now for the team that we have, probably reactionary football is easier. That can change. I think if you have both Laic and Kagawa on the pitch at the same time, I think you can play a very different type of football. With Janner, you're almost kind of forced to play that wing play, and you can maybe hope that Lens and Gökhan can force something on the right, which they did. I mean, their combination created the penalty. So that's kind of what you have to hope for, as long as it's 0-0, and then of course not eat a goal at the other end, because then you're going to have a nightmare against these types of teams.
And to tie this thing together, we said, I mentioned this before, but Kagawa looks like he's ready to go. And so that means if he's a lock in that number 10 role, I think Ljajic is a lock in the left wing spot. But let's get back to that in a second. Just to also tie another little bow on my little stat flash before we fully devolve into analysis. Beşiktaş's 2 yellow cards went to Domagoj Vida in the 14th minute and Jermaine Lens in the 72nd minute. So I don't know what that spells for them. I don't believe either of them are suspended. I don't think they've accumulated enough yellows.
No, Vida just had his yellow card suspension, so he's
in the clear.
He has to get 3 more. Jermaine Lens, I think he might have had a suspension already, or he might be getting close to one. But the only ones who were in danger of getting a suspension today were Gary Medel, Dorukhan, Laic, and Necip. So Necip didn't play, and the other 3 didn't get a card. So we're good for next week against Bursaspor. I do want to say though, I think both yellow cards were kind of BS. I think the first one for Vida was that was okay. Maybe you can give that, I guess, but to me that was very soft to give that. And then the Lens one was ridiculous because Boffin basically just entangles himself in him and then gets pissed off, and then Lens gets a yellow, and it's like, oh, okay, what? And then there's another moment which really annoyed me. I think it was before the 4-1 where we got a goal kick, and it was like one of the first goal kicks in the match for us, and immediately Karius gets warned and almost gets carded for wasting time, which he wasn't even doing all that much. And that really just gets me, because I remember so well that against Bursaspor he got a yellow on his first goal kick where he maybe stole like 2 or 3 seconds. And you have so many games throughout the season where you see goalkeepers wasting 30, 40 seconds and just not even getting not as much as an angry look from the referee. And I don't know what it is. It's like, you know how Quaresma gets these red cards.
I was gonna say, yeah,
really
like the
easily,
Sinan Gumush tackle in the Galatasaray match.
Yeah.
Like he clearly did. It was a classic Quaresma horror tackle.
Same thing.
And he just got a yellow.
Yeah, and I'm not arguing that it's a red card for Quaresma. I think it's a red card, but there's a double standard where Quaresma does something like that, and the referee doesn't even hesitate, immediately pulls out the red. But when another player does it, it's like he gets off with a caution, and it's like, why is that necessary? And that's those types of things where, referees are just biased, I think, in a way.
Sure.
Not necessarily saying that they're biased against Beşiktaş, but they have like these prejudices against certain players. I for the life of me, I don't know where that would come from against Karius, because he's not a time waster. I mean, if you compare that to Muslera, who's the king of time wasting, and Volkan Demirel, who's the queen of time wasting, those guys almost never get a card.
I bet their wives think he's handsome. They're jealous or something like that.
Who knows? Yeah. But that's just one of those little pet peeves I've been developing this season, where I think Karius gets cautioned way too quickly by referees, because he doesn't even waste time. Like, you know how you can really lay it on thick sometimes. Goalkeepers can really lay it on thick when they're wasting time, and he doesn't do that. Yeah. So it just annoys me. Anyway, that's end of rant.
Yeah, no, I mean that sounds fully justified. And I mean, what more is there to say? As we sort of like fully dig into analysis, I feel like we've really covered a lot of angles, in our little interjections throughout the match description, or whatever that whole intro thing is.
the exact thing I was trying to avoid.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but I think we handled it well. I mean, let's just dish out awards, if you will. For you today, who caught your eye the most? I'll let you go first, because mine would be
Lens
too predictable.
was really good today.
Oh, your man Lens.
I mean, obviously Kagawa was great, and he stole the show. But he came in at 4-1 in the 81st minute when the game was already played.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take anything away from his performance, but there was already a match played before that point, and I think that Lens was instrumental in getting the result. Like I said, he was on the basis of getting the penalty in combination with Gökhan. He was instrumental in the 2-0 as well. And he was instrumental in the 4-1. So he had a really important role in 3 of our ultimately 6 goals. But I think that in having an important role in 3 of the opening 4 goals. And let's be honest, I mean, that 4th goal, that was really important, because it kind of thwarted their momentum, because they were really putting on the pressure. They came close a couple times to getting that 2-3, and if they get that goal, then this could end very differently, because they were already having the momentum at that point. So that was a very important goal, and obviously, like I said several times already, that opening penalty goal was very important as well, and he had a key role there too. And in the second one as well. So, yeah, I mean, what can I say? For me, he was the man of the match pre-minute 82.
Yeah, it's a good pick. And I also like coming to a guy's side who gets slagged way too easily. You know, I think he's another one of those lazy mans, you know,
but there were a lot of guys, by the way, that deserve mention today. I think.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to call it Durakan. Durakan has brought so much energy to a section of our team that was so dead for so long, honestly, that I can't. You know, I guess since you took Lens and since we've. You know, I guess we're not allowed to give it to Kagawa. You know,
you
whatever.
Can give it to Kagawa if you want.
No. Your reasoning was too good for me to go against. Honestly, you can't give to someone who comes in and puts the icing on the cake. You know, you got to give the baker his credit. You know, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I would say Durakan is probably, you know, if you take out Lens.
I think Adriano was great too. Had a good.
Adriano put in a lot of energy today, especially because I think he may have been playing slightly injured in his last few appearances, and people were slagging him as, you know, when things get grim around here, people start really getting vicious. And that was very much the case.
I'm a big Adriano fan, as you might well know. I'm really a huge fan of his. To me, he's the best left back I've seen wear the shirt. And I've watched Beşiktaş for a good 2 decades. So for me, he's the best left back that I've seen in that time span.
Yeah, I think that's hard to disagree with, honestly. I can't think of...
I mean, obviously, there's guys like Ibrahim Üzülmez who are club legends, you know. But in terms of pure quality, you can't.
I actually lived through that whole Deli Ibo phase, and I gotta say, like, I remember people not being particularly thrilled to see him on the.
Yeah, I thought he was amazing in the first few years, and then he had a couple of really bad ones, in my opinion, where he was extremely frustrating to watch. And then towards the end of his career, he got better again, I thought. But
he was sort of. Yeah.
But anyway,
I think the whole Delhi reputation went to his head, and he started to lose his focus. But anyway, okay. So our highlights have been dished out. Do you have any lowlights, Kaan? Anyone stand out that really did not do what they needed to?
I probably have two names that come to mind. Channer, I thought wasn't particularly good. Also, left the pitch in a not in a positive way, and there was some swearing involved, I think, and I don't know if it was directed at Şenol Güneş or if it was directed at just, you know, in general, or, you know, because I mean, I don't know how you get when you're angry, but I when I'm angry, I can swear, and people around me may think that it's directed at them, but it's completely not directed at them.
Yeah, I hear that.
You know,
so
for sure. He left the pitch, and there's some videos and people saying that he called Şenol Güneş a certain 2 words in Turkish, but I don't know. From my own personal experience, I think he was just mad at himself for not
venting.
Yeah, that's how I interpret that, and I think it's a little bit silly to immediately start looking for trouble there. I mean, if he doesn't start the next couple of games, then you can probably derive out of that he was indeed speaking to Şenol, but I don't think that was the case. But apart from that, I think his match just wasn't that good. I mean, I just don't think he fits into that left winger role very well, contrary to what some people may think, because he's had a few good games there. I just don't think that's his style. I mean, he's best coming out from left back because that gives him more space. When he's on the left wing, he's gonna get marked more tightly, and he doesn't function
when he's
well.
The surprise, like when you're springing a guy and he brings that surprise little burst.
What game was it before the winter break where he came on in the second half and he played on the left wing and he really injected some quality and was dangerous. Had like 2 headers and a shot and stuff like that, and I think ultimately
we got all caught up.
Yeah, so he got an assist, and after that match, people were like, "Oh my God, he should play left wing." But
he's our option.
That's just one moment where he has a good game there. But I mean, if you let him play 10 games at left as a left winger, he's probably gonna put in 6 out of 10 performances for the majority of those games, if that. So yeah, not ideal.
Yeah, I hear that. And I'll steal your thunder on your second one before you. And
Yeah.
I'm going to say Kyle Larin.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 2.
Yeah, Kyle Larin came in. Like, okay, like if you're looking, if you're a Canadian listener, and I wouldn't be surprised if we had some, and you were looking for a silver lining on how Kyle Larin played, I can say that he got into such a dark place at certain points for a stretch there, honestly, where he wasn't even getting into positions anymore. And so at least he's bringing some of that. Like this second half of the season, he's brought energy, and he brought energy again. But that's not going to get anyone. You can have all the energy in the world, but if your first touch is so bad that you're going to ruin an opportunity, and then you're going to have to waste a bunch of energy to sort of make up for the first touch, that's not going to benefit you so much. And today, the story of Kyle Larin was really, I think, he needs to get his ball control, his first touch. He needs to get that sorted, man. It's really not up to snuff.
I don't know if it was his first, but was it his first touch? Because I mean, both positions he was sent through on goal, and I think he had plenty of time, and it was just that he couldn't.
One of them he bonked it to the right, and I think if he just touched it a little more gracefully and then put a shot on, he probably could have done something. But yeah, I maybe first touch, but definitely ball control, definitely dribbling in general.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, dribbling he. Once he brings it down and has it, he can do. But like his pass, the touch on his passes is always like a little weird, a little skewed. Not necessarily like it's not too heavy. It just doesn't go where it needs to go.
Clumsy. Just for the people listening, this is basically between the 4-1 and the 5-1. Well, there's like there's like a 15 minute window in which there were 2 huge opportunities, I think, for Larin. The first one, I don't recall exactly who set it up, but the second one was a really nice through ball by Leitch. And both of those positions were one-on-ones with the goalkeeper, and he just didn't do well there, and should do much better for being a striker, and a striker that's supposed to be a decent finisher. So I think that those are the types of positions where you're going to get. I think the coach is going to take that into account, and next time he evaluates his pecking order, I think that's definitely something that's going to stay with him. And then at the right at the end, like in the 93rd minute or something, there was like this really nifty pass by Kagawa.
Yeah.
Where again, Larin just remember in the beginning of the season when Lens had that back heel assist against Torshavn and Larin scored, where I said if that was against the Super League team, that would not have been a goal, because the amount of time that Larin needed to realize that he had just received the ball from a back heel was just too much, and a decent level defender would be on that already. And that's the thing that happened here, I felt like, where he just looked it just felt like he was a little bit too awestruck by the pass that he got, and it just ended up in complete nothingness. So it's just, I don't know.
Oh, he got the ball. He was like, nice. And it's like, oh wait, I have to do.
I think Larin is just. I mean, I don't think he's a lost cause. I think he has the potential, but he just needs to go out and play for a smaller team, get more minutes, and develop. He's only 23, 24. It's not very young, but that's young enough for a strike.
To his credit, in the last few weeks, I think he's brought himself back up to the point where we can say that again. There was a stretch where we thought he may have been a complete lost cause. So at least he's showing a little verve.
Yeah, but that's the thing in football. When your morale is low, a very good footballer can look like a shell of them former self, and I think that's just so important. That something that people often forget in football is how important the head is. And I'm not talking about headers. I'm talking about the inside of your skull. Just being the confidence is such an important thing in football. It's you see it time and time again with when an average player is on a high, they can do stuff that nobody ever imagined they could do, and vice versa. When a really good player is has low morale, they can just look like such a poor player. Look at Roberto Soldado, for example, for Fenerbahce in these past couple of years, the past couple seasons. I mean, he's looked poor, but now recently he's looking far better. Look at Robin van Persie when he was at Fenerbahce. He had a couple good games, but he was all in all a major disappointment. Look at him now at Feyenoord. He's completely reliving, and he's just doing fantastic things again. And that's just football, you know. Sometimes you have a dip. Yeah. I think Kyle Larin is one of those guys. He needs to go out on loan. He needs to go to a smaller team in maybe a league where it's easy to get goals. Cough, cough, Eredivisie, cough. And he needs to get his mojo. And I think once he's confident in himself, he could be a decent level striker. I think he could be a good striker for an Anatolian team. I don't think he'll ever be a Beşiktaş level striker. You never know, but I don't think so. Because I think at this stage in his career, he should be further along. But I think he could be a very good striker for, say, Antalyaspor or Rizespor or whatever. But he just needs to get his mojo back.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're absolutely right about the mental aspect of the game. It's such a vital component, especially if you're a striker. I think.
Yeah, goalkeepers and strikers especially. So credit to him for reestablishing himself as maybe a prospect of some kind, although still that's not quite it. That's not enough. No, I think Larin is someone that Beşiktaş can still get some money from. I think he's a player if you send him out to, like I said, Eredivisie or something in Holland, and if you can have a good season there, I think he's the type of player you can sell for 3.5, 4, 5 million perhaps to maybe the MLS or
he's certainly young enough.
I mean, we got him on 1.8 million transfer fee, and he's on a high wage. That's a problem, but for the MLS, that's not a problem. So if he could go out and have a good season in Holland, I could definitely see us make a decent sum on him to sell him back to an MLS side. And the problem to begin with him, why he came to Beşiktaş, was because he was on a ridiculous rookie contract after 3 years, where he was making like $200,000. And the problem was that he was one of the better strikers in the league, and he wasn't getting paid accordingly, where other strikers might be making $1.5 million a year. He was making $200,000. So I get that frustration in his regard. He should have had a new contract way before, but I guess that with the MLS the construction of the MLS, they didn't really want to give him that because they only have 4 players or so per team that can make more than a certain amount. Anyway, it's neither here or there, so let's move on. But I definitely think that Kyle Larin could still fetch us some money if he has a good season somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, moving on, I think that's what we all need to do, and we can't get too carried away with today's result. Today's result was fantastic. It was a dream come true. It was exactly what we all needed. But we need to move on and temper our expectations of Shinji Kagawa, for example. But just in general, we can't expect a 6-2 result against Bursaspor next week, even though we'll be at home, which is exciting. But so let's leave it there. Let's get excited about next week, and we'll see you guys again after the match against Bursa. It's next Sunday, the 10th of February. Now,
the match is at 7 local time, so that'll be 5 for me, and I guess that'll be...
I think that's 11 or noon.
11 for you, yeah. 11 for you, so 5 in Central Europe, and 7 locally in Turkey. Yeah.
So, besides today's match, there is a little bit more to discuss, Kaan. We have to talk a little bit about, the error we made, and you've already corrected that, regarding Shinji Kagawa's contract. But more importantly, let's talk about that contract, or lack thereof in some ways. Kaan, so what's the story regarding this OTB, option to buy?
Well, supposedly there was going to be an option to buy included in the contract for 1.6 million euros, but apparently that's been omitted from the contract for the reason that's being put out there, which I don't really buy, but the reason that is being put out there is that, well, Hannover came in at the last minute and they also made an offer for Kagawa, so Dortmund wanted a 500,000 euro loan fee, which made Beşiktaş decide to omit the buyout clause in favor of not having to pay a loan fee. But that just seems so completely out there, because I think the agreement was already in place for Kagawa, so I don't really buy that I don't think that's legit. But that's just my personal opinion. There's this theory as well that because there's elections coming up in May, that they might want to keep this buyout clause, just hush hush, not talk about it, because I mean the rumored buyout cost was 1.6 million euros, which is an absolute steal. Now, if they can in April or so announce we've signed Shinji Kagawa for 1.6 million euros, that's like complete and utter election propaganda for them. That's a huge win, especially if they can put it under the guise of, well, we didn't get the option to buy, but we managed to negotiate Dortmund down to a great fee, and just huge feather on our cap, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, and also of course hoping, because I think what we've also seen, the reaction on social media when the news came out that there wasn't an option to buy, I think we saw a massive response from the Beşiktaş fan base, where they were just incredibly disappointed with the fact that there wouldn't be an option to buy. And I think there was already these feelings creeping back in, and these very bad memories of Mario Gomez, Abubakar, Talisca, all deals that were loans initially that had options to buy but then didn't happen. And I think the fans are just really afraid to get their hearts broken again.
Yeah. See, this is what lends, keep those tinfoil hats on for a second, if you will, because I really do think that this all to me lends some credibility to the notion that there could be some trickery at work here, some, as you say, propaganda. Because you don't want to go into your election having lost yet another transfer to the same way, like you said, like we've lost Talisca and we've lost Gomez. So I think not only would it be like, oh, wow, we got this guy, and it didn't go in that way, but for it to be able to be announced just before an election, I think it would be too much of a risk for them not to have some assurance, even if it's just like a gentleman's handshake with Dortmund saying like, hey, look, if Shinji Kagawa is happy here, we'll go ahead with the agreement. I think there's some X variable at work there that goes a little deeper than just there's no OTB period. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, and even after, and even after the match, there was like this reaction from one of the Beşiktaş board members, from Ahmet Ükmezgil, who said, to my knowledge, there is an option to buy in the contract. And then like a couple minutes later, like as if he got like this angry text or something, like, oh my God, what did you say? You totally screwed up. And he immediately he immediately went back out and said, oh, no, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. There's no option to buy, and it's like, I don't know.
It really did. It was just long enough for someone on the board to be like, dude, you screwing the pooch, man. Well, and another thing is that Shinji Kagawa gave a very nice, formal goodbye to Borussia Dortmund, which somewhat closed the door on their relationship, at least, as far as the sentiment he had for the club and everything. So it doesn't give it didn't seem like there was a possibility he'd be back next year to then give another speech about good,
No, but that's because but the thing is that Kagawa's story at Dortmund has been, last season that was finished, and it was clear from the summer that he also said, I mean, remember we had those interviews with him as well at the beginning of the season in the Japanese media, where he clearly said, look, I'm looking for a new challenge, and he was looking for a new challenge, a new chapter in his career. I mean, Dortmund didn't really see him he wasn't in their plans for the future. So in the summer, he was already looking for a club, and there were, obviously Beşiktaş was trying really hard to get him, but he was very hesitant towards that move. I think he also kind of shed some light on that as well in his first interview when he arrived. That was Shafak Mahmoud Yazıcıoğlu who basically shed some light on that. Basically, what Mahmoud Yazıcıoğlu said is Kagawa wants to take these 6 months and he wants to see if he can adjust to life in Turkey. He wants to see if this is for him. And I think that's understandable. And also why he didn't maybe commit in the beginning of the season to this move. But he also made it clear that he still has something on his bucket list, and that's Spain. But if that opportunity didn't come in the summer, and it didn't come now either. So he had the opportunity to go to Monaco, but either he decided against it or Monaco decided to pull out because of the coach change. I'm not sure what the deal was there, but that didn't go through. So then he just, I think, due to the persistence of Beşiktaş, showing him that and that's also something he said in his post-match, in his interview yesterday with Beşiktaş TV, he said, they showed me in the summer that they really wanted me, and they showed me again now that they really wanted me. The club has shown me a lot of respect. The fans have shown me a lot of respect. That's something he literally said. I think for Kagawa, these 6 months is kind of an evaluation period as well. He has, of course, spoken to Yuto Nagatomo beforehand, whether he should make this move or not. He's gotten positive feedback from Nagatomo. Nagatomo even publicly stated, look, life here is really good in Istanbul. You won't regret it to making that decision. He even said something like, obviously, I'd prefer him to come to Galatasaray and play with me, but you won't regret this decision, something along those lines. And that's just, I think the Kagawa thing we have that side of the coin where maybe this is something they're saving for the elections. But I also think, on the other hand, it's something for Kagawa. If this is going to be a positive experience for him, and obviously it's got a perfect start. I don't think you can imagine it being any more perfect than today's start for him.
2 goals, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if he can. If these coming 15 or 14 remaining games, and he can really have this feeling of, this is a team where I feel appreciated, I feel like I can do something, there's a challenge here for me, and I think that's just really important for him. One is the team and the challenge there for him professionally, and then two, is Turkey somewhere he can get used to, somewhere he can live? And then 3, perhaps, maybe if he has a good 6 months, if there's no interest from Spain, I think that Beşiktaş will definitely be a huge option for him. I think that's also why he didn't want to go to Hanover, probably, because that's just the same thing. And he has come out and said, I want a new challenge. And okay, Borussia Dortmund is a title contender, Hanover is a relegation candidate, but I don't think he wants Bundesliga football anymore. I think he wants to go somewhere completely different. So preferably Spain, of course, but obviously Turkey is something very different.
Here's another element to this too, which you haven't mentioned. When you're a guy like he is, who's reached in many ways the heights of international football, playing for Manchester United, Dortmund, etc., but not like coming into to some of the big clubs young and then not quite panning out as a international star per se. I think there could be an extent to which he really wants to reclaim some of that like celebrity, and not like just in Japan where that would be kind of automatic at this stage, especially at this stage in his career. But he could literally go back as a 40-year-old after he's retired and unretire and become Japan's not the challenge for him at all. But so I think Turkey offers him the unique opportunity to get into Europe, and that's another factor that you didn't mention. But not only do we need to play well in these 15 games and ingratiate him and make him feel like he's a vital cog, but I really think we need to get into Europe. And honestly, I don't know if like the Champions League versus Europa League is the be all end all. I think he could stick around for a Europa League run, honestly. But we certainly can't be finishing in 7th place.
Yeah, but I think for Kagawa, probably what's most important is, like I said before, is there a challenge for him? I think he wants to be important. I think he wants to be a key player in whatever team he decides to play for. Because in that first stint with Borussia Dortmund, he was a big star. He was a key player. Then he went to Manchester United, was had kind of a bit role. Then when he went back to Dortmund, he was never really the star that he was before. He wasn't the one of the central figures to the team. He was still a good player for them and played plenty.
They'd moved on, essentially.
Yeah, they have
They'd
moved on
him.
for sure. But that's also like, for example, now he wasn't at the Asia Cup with Japan, and they lost the final, of course, to Qatar. But he wasn't there. And that's probably because he didn't play much this season. So I think that for him, playing time is important. So then there's this. I think he was rumored with Sevilla at the start of the season, and there's, of course, he has made it clear that Spain is something that's on his bucket list. But then I think you also have to keep in mind, if you go to Sevilla, you're gonna have to fight hard for a place. Now he's Japanese, so of course he doesn't mind fighting for his place. But I do think that perhaps at his age, 29, going on 30, it's nice to know that you're appreciated and that you're going to be at the centrum of the plans of the team going forward to the next couple of years. And I think
with European possibilities, not just an Australian team or MLS.
And he's young enough to still be a central figure for a club, for someone to build around. I think both him and Laic are players Beşiktaş can build around at the same time. Laic, currently 27, he'll be 28 next season. Kagawa will be 30 next season. But those guys are still young enough where you can build around for the coming 3 years or longer, perhaps, in the case of Laic for sure. So I think that for him, if this is a positive experience, that there's definitely the possibility of him staying. But of course, given the club situation financially as well, obviously his wages aren't being paid by the club. They're actually being paid by a Beşiktaş supporter. I forgot his name, Hüseyin Yücel or something, I want to say. He's paying about 750,000 of that 1.2 million wage, and then Orman is paying the rest. So I think that's also probably something where they want to make sure that he has the best possible experience. They don't want to have
no late fees.
Yeah, they don't want to have the situation where they have to ask him, look, I'm sorry, but your paycheck is going to be 2 to 3 weeks late. Would you mind waiting? Because that's what's rumored to be going on right now with Adriano and Vida and such. And I think that's fine for a player that's been at the club for a while. And, fine. I don't think it's fine ever. But I think that a player who's been at the club for a while, who has committed his future to the club, and who knows the situation, and who already has an emotional attachment to a certain extent, they'll probably be like, it's fine. I know I'm going to get it. It's fine. I think a new guy that's only staying for a small, short 6-month window, I think it's a lot more dangerous for him to have to wait a couple of extra weeks for his paycheck, even though obviously a guy like Kagawa isn't coming for money. That's not the main motivator for him at all. But you still want everything to go smooth there.
Yeah, you want a semblance of normalcy, right?
But then I just want to pick up on one more thing, though, which ties into that, where you could think that maybe that would cause resentment from other players. But then just the reactions from his teammates today when he scored, they swarmed him and they were so happy for him on both goals, and just the interaction he's having with his teammates after the game, during the match. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I think that's just
Laic and Atiba both did a little bow when he came on stage.
and Laic, is supposedly, that was suggested in the post-match interview that they were competitors, which I don't think they are. I think they can perfectly function together. I think that's just such a nice way to welcome a guy into the team. And I don't know. I think Kagawa is a very difficult player to resent for his teammates. I don't think you can resent those type. I mean, those Japanese guys are just so amazing. They're so humble.
Such a worker.
Yeah, they have such amazing ethics. I mean, I don't know. I wish we had a couple more Japanese players, if I'm honest.
Gotoku Sakai, if you're out there and you're willing to sign up to a team-friendly deal.
We need a right back, so
exactly.
and then maybe a Shoya Nakajima on the left wing.
Next gen, let's keep it coming.
Yeah. Anyway,
and to any Japanese supporters out there, stay tuned because we're definitely we're gonna be talking about Shinji every week. I can guarantee that. As long as he's on the pitch, we'll be talking about him. And if he's not on the pitch, we'll be talking about why he's not on the pitch. But for sure, stay tuned and stay tuned for a special episode upcoming. Kaan, do you want to maybe introduce that a little bit before we go on to the standings?
Yeah, there's just one more thing I also want to talk about Kagawa before we end things. Yeah, still not done. But yeah, we're definitely going to have a Kagawa central episode. We do this on all our new transfers. So if you're a new listener and you're thinking we're just laying it on thick because it's a Japanese player and a big star, no, we actually do this for all our new signings. We do a special episode. Yeah, of course. I mean, if it's a youngster coming from obscurity, there's not really much we can do. But guys who have had a career already that we can find an expert to talk to on. We're definitely gonna do episodes on those guys, and we're gonna do one on Shinji Kagawa for sure. I'm scheduling an interview with Dan Orlowitz somewhere in this coming week, so expect that episode to drop somewhere around Thursday maybe or something like that. But before we wrap things up, Sinan, there's just one more thing I want to touch on, and that's the way that another reason why I think that Kagawa isn't necessarily just a 6-month thing is the way the club is just laying it on super thick. And there's already been a TV broadcasting deal with DEZN in Japan. So all of Beşiktaş games are already being broadcasted in Japan right now. Same with Galatasaray's matches, of course, due to Yuto Nakatomo. But that's already been done. Beşiktaş have been marketing this deal, have been marketing Kagawa coming to Beşiktaş quite heavily. There's even a Japanese Twitter account that started. I think it's an official club account that started. And of course, we know that Beşiktaş have been trying to make inroads into the Japanese market for a while. I mean, they had this huge Mainichi-Sponichi deal. Obviously, they had the deal in the beginning of the season with Mainichi where they wanted to branch out into Japan. And I spoke to someone recently about that. And because I had someone in Japan reach out to Mainichi, and he actually spoke to the CEO of the company. And the situation was, he was going to get back to me on that if there was a story there. And he said, well, there really isn't. They don't really know yet what they're going to do with this deal. And I think now they know. Because now Beşiktaş is going to be relevant in Japan, because arguably their greatest player in history, and I don't know how high he ranks up there next to a Nakata Hidetoshi or something, but I think he's pretty big. I think definitely from this generation he's the biggest star. I think the only one who can come close is Honda, and I think Kagawa has had a better and more successful and higher profile career than Honda has had, because I mean his main success has come in a small team in the Netherlands and then in Russia, and he wasn't really that successful in Italy or anything. And of course Kagawa had that huge career for Dortmund, and then of course that transfer to Manchester United, which is I think in Japan a bigger deal than a transfer to AC Milan. I might be wrong. It's definitely something I'm going to ask Dan about. But I just think that now there's a lot more possibilities for Beşiktaş to start marketing themselves in Japan with this huge star, this huge Japanese star. And there's been massive amounts of interest already being shown from Japan in Beşiktaş suddenly, which wasn't the case 6 months ago when they had that deal with Mainichi. So, I think if I think if, like I already said, if it's a positive experience for Kagawa, I think he'll want to stay. And I think if he wants to stay, I don't think Dortmund will. If there isn't a hidden option to buy that we're not supposed to know about, I even think if Kagawa has a positive experience and says, "Look, this is where I want to continue my career," I really don't think that Dortmund is going to be an obstacle. I think they respect and love Shinji Kagawa a lot for what he's done for their club, and I think they wouldn't say, "Look, Beşiktaş are only willing to pay 2 million. This team is about willing to pay 5 million. You have to go there." I don't think that's what Dortmund are. I think that they would take that 3 million blow and have Kagawa go where he wants to be happy. And then on the other end, I think if this is a positive experience for Beşiktaş and if they can get a major sponsorship deal out of this from Japan, which is the target. That's not something they're hiding. They're talking about that openly, that they want to find sponsorship agreements in the Japanese market. And I think if that's a possibility, and because of this deal, I think they will do anything in their power to keep Kagawa at the club. The only thing that I could see derail his future at the club, if everything on those two aspects goes the right way, is that if Orman is not reelected in May and a different president comes in and that president does not share Orman's vision of expanding into Japan. Although I think at this point, with the amount of attention that Beşiktaş are already getting in a very short amount of time, I think you'd need to be quite ignorant to not see the potential there. I think there is a great potential for Beşiktaş to expand into that Japanese market and to become a brand that does well there.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. And for the record, it's of note that Japan, as a very small island, is a very developed economy of, I think, either very close to 130 million people or a little over 130 million. It's a giant market that's football mad, increasingly football mad.
Yeah,
and they're hungry for
the Japanese.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to share my own experience. I mean, as someone who writes who's a sports writer and who gets a lot of jobs from Japan, which I've gotten for a couple of years already, I can say they pay really well. It's just if you compare the rate that you get in Europe compared to the rate that you get it from these Japanese companies, they're not. What I'm trying to say is that they're not afraid to spend some cash.
It's a big deal. It's a really big deal.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so the more the Beşiktaş can solidify this relationship, and I think, the Mainichi Sponichi thing was the first step, and then Kagawa was a big second step. But I think you got to build on that, and that means I think the club, it would be. It feels like it's impossible to me that you just let Shinji Kagawa's loan expire after 6 months. That's it. You're done, and you've that was what that's not like the climax. That's not the climax of a business. Yeah. And Fikret Orman, to his credit, he's not a complete moron. He has some experience in the business world, so I'm sure he knows better than to think like that. So I think it's very likely he comes back, or if not, he's replaced by something even better.
I think he's come out in the last couple of days with some questionable decisions in terms of quotes. But I think when it comes to him on the business side of things, agreeing sponsorship deals, I mean, the Vodafone deal was massive, and there's been several really big sponsorship contracts that he and his board have managed to get. I think the vision wise, there's a lot of positive to be said about Fikret Orman, and I think his vision in terms of the Japanese market is definitely something that holds a lot of merit. And like you said, I think it would not make much sense that, especially if he is reelected, that this is just a 6-month thing. I think that, in my opinion, him being the biggest Japanese star out there right now, that's just the pinnacle of what you can do. And I think you need to continue and build off of that, like you said. So, for example, we need a right back. So maybe Sakai would be, I mean, I'm not saying it's a realistic option. I don't know how willing Marseille would be to let him go for a friendly fee. But like, for example, expanding that way, you get, and of course you have to get quality. I mean, with Kagawa, you're getting, because some people said like, oh, maybe we should get a Chinese player, but can you name a single good Chinese player? You know, that's the thing with Kagawa. You don't just have this huge marketing possibility. You also have a fantastic footballer first and foremost, which was always going to be the most important thing. I don't think you should get players from a certain nation just to get players from that nation.
Agreed.
I think when you get a player, it needs to be because he has the quality to play for your club. And obviously Kagawa is that type of player. And I think a guy like Sakai is another type of player that could do really well for Beşiktaş. I'm just putting a name out there, of course. Yuto Nagatomo as a player, I would have loved to see at Beşiktaş as well. I mean,
yes,
unfortunately, he's 32, 33 years old already, and he's at Galatasaray. But I mean, ever since he came to Galatasaray, he's just one of those players. You can't hate him because he's so good and
professional. Not
good in terms of, a professional player, always puts in his good match, and it's just like he's not going to be provoking anyone or anything like that. It's just players like that, they demand respect.
And more importantly, and given in the last half of the season or a year plus even, there's never a question of did they put it all out for you? Did they put enough on the pitch? You know, and that's a big deal, clearly.
Yeah, for sure. And
anyway, Kaan, we've got to wrap this one up.
Yeah, we do.
But before we do, tell me a little bit about the standings, or shall I? How do you want to do that?
Well, Beşiktaş are currently sitting in a shared third position, I believe. They're on equal points with Malatyaspor and Trabzonspor, but with a better goal differential. So Beşiktaş are currently in third position with 33 points. Malatyaspor and Trabzonspor both have 33 points as well. Galatasaray are on 36 points following their 1-1 draw away at Antalyaspor yesterday, which was a really good match, by the way. I thought Antalyaspor were great again. It wasn't just against us that they were very good. And then, of course, Başakşehir sitting at the top of the table, 11 points clear on us and 8 points clear on Galatasaray. So they have 44 points, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be difficult to catch them.
Sitting pretty. Anyway. Take us out. I don't think there's much more to say. Beşiktaş is in third place. We're in a position where one match where Galatasaray slips all 3 points. We're back in second. But
of course, Galatasaray made super heavy investments this January. They spent a lot of money to get that title, to get that Champions League money, and they slipped up this weekend. So that could be very painful for them come the end of the season, especially if you look at Başakşehir not letting up. But for us, I think our goal should be first and foremost to secure second place. That's going to be difficult enough.
Yeah.
A title would be, at this point, 11 points out, would be a miracle with only, 14 games left to go.
Maybe Kagawa is our Yusuf Şimşek. The question is, who is our Fabian Ernst? Maybe Muhayer? Maybe Dorkan. It's the story of Dorkan.
Even at that point, I mean, we weren't. I think we might have been like a couple points behind Sivasspor at that point, but only a couple, and not 11.
No way.
And Sivasspor definitely weren't as formidable as this Başakşehir is. So, unfortunately, I think the title is out of the question. Of course, you can never say never until it's mathematically done. But we need to start winning those home games.
Yeah, we do.
We need to start winning.
Starting this Sunday against Bursa, please.
Yeah.
Because that's a big one.
Yes. And there's a rumor, by the way, and unconfirmed, but that the Japanese FA has allegedly requested 500 tickets for their delegates to come and watch Kagawa. I hope it's true.
There you go.
But
dividends
we'll have
paying
to wait
off.
and see.
And already we saw some Japanese fans in the stands this week. We saw already a presence of journalists from Japan, which I'd warned you all about. I hope their club can accommodate them.
I can't say I'm surprised. I experienced that firsthand and back in 2000, 2003 or so, I think, when Racing Genk signed Takayuki Suzuki.
Yeah.
and there was this massive interest from Japan being shown, and he wasn't even that big of a star. Yeah. I mean, the biggest star back then was Honda for sure, and I mean now Kagawa, of course, such a big name in Japanese football. Obviously, there's going to be massive attention for that, and I think it's just a really positive thing for Beşiktaş.
It really is. I for one will be getting his shirt whether he stays or goes.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah, definitely getting a shirt. Gonna try my hardest to get a signed shirt. Anyway, I'm gonna take us out for sure. Time to wrap things up. For any new listeners, thank you for listening. Please go back and check some of our older episodes out. We have some really well-received episodes, especially one of our more recent ones. I think it was episode 53, in which I interviewed Can Okar about the financial situation of Beşiktaş and basically all of Turkish football. We spoke about the whole debt restructuring deal that is being proposed by the Turkish Football Federation in conjunction with the Turkish banking sector. It's a very interesting interview that you definitely have to give a listen if you're interested in Turkish football, just so you can get to know a little bit why are these big clubs in Turkey struggling financially. We explain it in great detail, I think, and in layman's terms for the most part, so everyone can understand it. And obviously go back and listen to some of our players central episodes. Isimat and Mirin was a recent episode we did. We did one at the start of the season on Adem Laic, on Loris Karius. Those are always very good episodes in my opinion as well, and obviously the ones that match episodes tend to not age as well as those types of timeless ones. But we had some really great episodes at the beginning of the season as well, previewing our European opponents. You might want to give those a little, especially the Torshavn one. I just think those types of episodes of obscure teams are always fun to learn about the Faroe Islands and their football culture and Torshavn, the team and the town. I thought that was really interesting to learn about as a football geek. But no, lots of good stuff yet to come. Like Sinan already said, we're definitely gonna do a Kagawa episode in the next few days. And yeah, that's basically it. Give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/Beşiktaş International, just one big word. Follow us on Twitter at Beşiktaş_int, at Eagles_podcast, at Sir_Writes_a lot, and myself, Kaan Bayazit, at Razarian, RAZZERIAN. Give us a follow, and please, people, drop us a 5-star review on iTunes or anywhere you can drop that review for the podcast. It would really help us out a lot. And if you have any questions for the podcast, please tweet at us, or just tweet at whatever. Just feel free to ask your questions. If you ever want to submit an After the Beep segment, then you can reach us on WhatsApp at +32 499 331684. Once again, that's +32 499 331684. You can just send us a voice message through WhatsApp on there, and we'll add it at the end of the episode as a After the Beep, which is something fun we do on this podcast. Yeah, that's it for me. Kaan Bayazit. Sinan, please take us out unless you have anything else to add.
Go Beşiktaş! And to our new Japanese followers, Yokoso. Beşiktaş ni kite. I don't know. Nikuru, whatever it is. Come on down to Beşiktaş. We welcome the new fans. We welcome the new fans to Beşiktaş, to the podcast. We hope that we can serve you guys. I don't know if you'll get a Japanese podcast in the future, but certainly I think English could be a nice bridge between us and the Japanese community. So we're happy to serve you guys, and we promise to give you lots of Shinji news. And besides that, everyone else, come on, let's go, guys. Second half of the season, we got this. We got this.
Let's hope so.
All right, man.
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.